Okay, we should be recording. I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how you're going to make your mezuzah. You're going to get your block of clay. It is going to be approximately the size that it should stay. So you are not going to press this clay down. It needs to actually be this thick so that in the end, I'm able to carve out the back where the parchment's going to go for the mezuzah. You're going to start with coming up with your design. You need to remember that either at the beginning or at the end of the project, you're going to press down with your thumbs the two ends so that you now have an indentation. You have to make sure that this stays the thickness of your pinky finger so that it doesn't break when it dries. Because eventually I'm going to put a hole in here. I'm going to use a tool that's going to put a hole in there for the nail to go through so it can be hung on the wall. You do not need to do this part. You just need to press it down and make those two spots. There's two ways you can do this. You can either press stuff into it, you can attach stuff on top, and you could do a combination of the two. So I'm gonna start very simple. There's a bunch of things that are at the back table that have all kinds of textures. This has different textures on it. This is a different texture. This is a stamp. You can roll stuff onto it. I'm gonna make a design using this. I want you to think about the design you're making. We're not just making random, messy impressions into the clay. This is actually something that's going to be hung on the walls of the school, and we want to do it with some pride. So I'm going to leave those two marks. I'm going to make a little coin. We don't want anything hanging off the sides of this that could break, but I'm going to use that. Made a little swirl. Now, to attach anything to my clay, I need to score and slip. If you don't remember what that is, it's making scratch marks on the two pieces that are going to go together. So the two surfaces that are getting put together need to be scratched so that when you put them together, they have something to adhere to, and you're going to use slip. Please make sure the slip you are using is the same color as the clay you are using, because there's two different color clays in school. You may have to ignore my dogs that are gonna bark. So I'm going to attach this to my piece. I'm gonna put it right in the center. I'm going to scratch with this score tool. You could see it has different little pieces of wire that all kind of fan out. I'm gonna make some scratch marks. Now, my scratch marks that I'm going to make on this surface have to be exactly where I'm going to put it. I'm not gonna make scratch marks up here and then put my piece down here. That's not gonna work. I'm actually gonna put it up here. I'm gonna put my scratch marks right here. So now I have scratch marks in both spots. I'm gonna take some of my slip, which is the watered down clay. I'm going to attach it, make sure it's secure. You may have to take the green tool and smooth it together so that you know that it is one piece. Now, many of you have seen mezuzahs or the mezuzot that you have hanging in your house that have a shin on it. So you may want to put a shin somewhere on your piece. I'm going to put one down here. It looks very much like a W, as you guys all probably know. You have to make sure that this is also scored and slipped. Even though it looks like a very small piece of clay, it will fall off when it dries if you have not done this process. So I have to make sure I know where I'm putting it. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna mark it. I don't have a needle tool with me, so I'm just using a toothpick. So I just wanna mark where I'm putting it. So since this tool is probably too big for me to start scoring, I'm just gonna use my needle tool to make a few score marks. I'm gonna make sure that my slip gets put over the score marks. Now I don't wanna see those score marks once I've attached the clay. This could be your completed piece. You don't need to add anything else to it. It's pretty simple. It looks like it's complete. It's very nicely done. You are going to leave it. And like I said, I'm going to make sure that a hole is put in each of them, 2 holes. I'm also going to make sure the mezuzah gets numbered, so that way I can keep track of who made which one. And I am going to take your piece and I'm going to scoop out the back, which is why we need to make sure that our mezuzah remains thick and you have not pressed this clay down, because I need to be able to take out enough clay from the back so that the parchment can be put into place when it is done. So that's one completed mezuzah. I'm going to do another one so that you could just see another example. So this one, instead of making it one whole piece, I want to make it a little bit fancier. I'm going to take off the end. I'm going to make this into another shape. I'm going to make it into a ball that I'm going to attach here. So what do I need to do to attach it? I need to score it. And I need to score what I'm attaching it to. I need to slip it. And then the 2 areas that were scored, I'm going to put together. Now, on the back side, decide which is your back. On the back side, you want to make sure that these are really attached. So I'm just going to smooth them together. There's my front. But I'm going to add some more stuff. I want to add a little bit something down here since it's short, because I kind of want them to be about that length. I'm going to take this, which I kind of like. Make a little checkerboard design. And again, I'm going to score, whoops. Score. I'm gonna, whoa, so look, so what I just did is I scored that to attach it. That's really this part that I want to attach. So that score mark's not gonna do me any good. I need to make sure I'm scoring the right spot. Make sure it's all secure. But I'm going to do something a little bit different with this one. I am going to, I'm actually going to take this nail and make some texture. Oops. Make a little bit of cool texture. I'm keeping the thickness. I haven't pressed it down too much. And I am going to add glass to mine. So this little yellow rod is actually a piece of glass, as are these pieces that have been pre-cut. Now they're still sharp, so you still have to be pretty careful because you can still cut yourself. If you are going to use a piece of glass, you need to make sure that I show you what to do, because your piece of glass needs to fit into a space in the glass. If you just press it down, when the clay dries and goes into the kiln, the clay is going to shrink. The glass is going to melt and it's going to spill over the sides. So it's not going to work. What you're going to do is you're going to figure out where the piece of glass is going to go, take it off, and then using this tool that has a little bit of a loop on it, I'm going to carve out a space. Now you don't want to go too deep, because remember, I'm going to be carving out the clay from the backside. But I'm going to make a spot that's a little bit bigger than my glass. Like a little well, a little house, a little cave. And I'm going to put that glass inside that space. So inside that space, and I want to make sure that there's a little bit of an area around it. So when the glass melts, it can spread out slightly. And I think I'm going to put one more piece. I'm going to put a piece up here as well. So where is it going to go? It's going to go right there. I know where it's going to go. I'm going to lift it off. Whoops, wrong tool. Take out some clay. Might have to use a couple of different tools to make that spot. And now I can put my piece of glass in there. Make sure there's an area around it for it to spread out when it melts. So there's another, almost done. I think I want to add one more thing to it. I'm going to take my piece of clay. I'm going to make a snake or a coil. Coil's a better word. I'm going to make a coil. And I'm going to roll my coil in both directions. Kind of make a double coil. And I'm going to put it, where do I want to put it? Well, I don't want to cover that up. I don't want to cover that up. I want to put it right there. So what do I have to do? If I'm going to attach something, I'm going to score it, score the back, slip it, make sure it's attached really well. And there's one other thing that this needs. It needs my thumbprint here, and it needs my thumbprint here. And then you are done. So I have 2 completed mezuzahs. I will, after you are finished, I will scoop out the back. Remember, Mrs. Singer does this, not the student, because I don't want it to fall apart. And I will also put the hole into the correct spot so it could be nailed into the wall. And there I have 2 completed works.